Good morning, y'all. Happy Sunday. Welcome to another What Else is Going On, aka We Go podcast episode. I'm your girl, your host, Taria. We are getting ready to get into the Real Housewives of Orange County, season 19, episode 19, Loose Lips Sink Ships. I apologize if I sounded a little nasally. I don't know what happened. This morning, Corey, for those of you that don't know, Corey is my husband, but instead of always saying my husband, say Corey, right? I have a senior and a junior. Anyway, um, he said, "Are you getting sick?" And I was like, "No, I just need to blow my nose." Well, I've been blowing it, and child, it seemed like I don't know, but I'm not claiming it. I'm not claiming it. I need to. What do I need to take, y'all? Vitamin C, E, D, F, G, H, I, J, K, elemental P. Somebody let me know. Something Z for zinc. Sorry, y'all. Just so, because I don't want it to turn into anything, but I think I'll be good. But let's get into this episode. I It's not fun to watch all the time when the people frustrate you. When all the people frustrate you. It's like, can we get some laughs? Little things are funny here and there, but they're not like a Salt Lake City or like a Miami, and even sometimes with Atlanta. People don't like Portia, they don't like Phaedra. Some people, because everybody has fans and everybody doesn't have fans, right? But they're funny to me. They can be really funny and it can lighten things up, right? And OC can have funny moments, but they just really don't have no funny. You know what I mean? But let's get into it. So we pick up where they left off last week, where Tamara let Shannon know, by the way, Gina is concerned about you, and makes it seem like I think Tamara wants to make it seem like to Shannon, it's you're drinking, because you're just a drunk, you're just a drunk. Whereas I do believe Gina's overall concern comes from she knows how Shannon's family was everything, right? Now all of her daughters are gone. She doesn't have any in the house. It's just her and Archie. She's not dating. She's not going out. There may be nothing there to do but drink. And Gina used to drink a lot, which is why she is abstaining from alcohol. And she knows that it can be hard. And I think with Shannon, everything is still fresh. It's not 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 years in. And even then, there are some people that say they put down a drink and didn't pick it back up, and some that say they struggle every day and it's been 6 years. So I do think Gina's concern is valid and real, not just from a place of you're a drunk, but from a place of there are elements that could contribute to you drowning your sorrows or your loneliness in the bottom of a vodka or a Tito's bottle, right? So I get what Gina's saying, but Tamara's trying to make it seem as if, number one, we've been talking about you behind your back and we think that you still got a problem drinking. So again, Gina, and I liked how Gina did check Tamara and said, but to be fair, because Gina said to Shannon, yes, I am concerned about you. And then Gina said to Tamara, to be fair, what I said came from you doing something I didn't like towards Shannon. So let's not act like it just came from nowhere. And it was when they were in New Orleans, the year before, Tamara was on Shannon's throat. You're a drunk, you're a drunk, you're a drunk, da 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 da. And then you want to be sneaking her away for drinks in New Orleans. So which one is it? Right? I get what Gina's saying there too. Gina said, well, I mean, Tamara says, I told you, and I explained where that came from. But in her confessional, Tamara's like, no matter what I say or do, people are going to find fault because it's your fault in these instances. So Shannon says, last year was very traumatic for her. She was in a hole and she's processing. Um, so Tamara says to her, what do I need to do to make it better? And Shannon said what she's been trying to say, give me a minute. I just need a minute. I'm still getting out of something that was hopefully an eye opener, scary, embarrassing, could have cost her or other people their lives, plastered all over, highlighted her drinking, right? I'm still processing that. The last thing I'm thinking about is repairing something with you. And I think that's what it is too with certain Housewives franchises. Real life catastrophic things, even if it's by their own doing, could be happening. but you trying to make it seem like, well, you're not concerned about me or the friendship. I'm trying to be there for you. No, you're not. And I mean, it is a reality show, right? So we're supposed to be seeing all of it, but it's just something more of a sinister to me when it comes from Tamara. It's not a true concern. So Shannon said, just give me a minute. And the crazy thing was, before Shannon said that, when Tamara said, what could I do to make things better? I said time. Shannon came right behind me, child. Like she knew I was going to say it. And she said time. Tamara said the conversation was difficult. I appreciate it. I know that's what real friends do. I've never done that before because I'm always on the defense and I apologize. Apologies get old. They do. When you keep doing the same thing, apology isn't words, it's changed behavior. And I think people think they should get kudos for number one, recognizing their bad behavior, and number two, apologizing. That's what you're supposed to do. The harder one is the actual changed behavior, which comes along with all of that. Anybody could say, I'm sorry. Anybody can say, I know I got a problem. I know someone who would say, I know I got a problem. I know I do this. At least I recognize it and would laugh and continue to do it. No, that may work for you, but it don't work for me. So because it doesn't work for me, but it works for you, we can no longer coexist in the same space the way we used to. Because if that works for you, that don't work for me. Because again, hollow apologies, right? But anyway, Tamara says, I want to go back to the house and have fun and get into some shenanigans. And then she says, Shannonanigans, whatever, child. Okay. So we back on Rodeo Drive in Beverly Hills. The girls, Heather, Gretchen, and Emily, are wrapping up their dinner at Crustacean. Heather said, look, I hope you appreciate my feelings towards Tamara. Was I scared of her before? Yes, because she's mean. Remember I said, why are these ladies afraid of Tamara? Is it because she got something on them or because they know she will go to the gutter with it? See, that works on OC. Baby, she brought that over to Atlanta, Potomac, baby, maybe even a little bit of, well, Salt Lake City, and maybe, I don't know about Beverly Hills. You, Tamara's gutter is a high glass ceiling compared to what those ladies could take her to. So she gets away with that over there on the OC. But Heather said, basically, Tamara reminds her of her dad. They could be anywhere at any time, and he would just explode about something, and it would be embarrassing. They wouldn't know where it came from. And so she always was uneasy. They would walk around eggshells with him. She said, and it just didn't make any sense. Heather said, so then Gretchen says, so what is, and Heather said she was trying to explain that to Tamara and tell Tamara, like, basically your behavior reminds me of him and it can be very triggering. She said, and Tamara kind of shut it down, like, okay, whatever. And then never brought it up again. So Gretchen was like, well, what is the situation with your dad now? And Heather's like, thank you for asking me. And she says, her dad passed away. And I remember that because I was listening to her podcast. It was called Heather's World at that time, Heather Dubrow's World. And I'm going to tell you, listening to her podcast when it was Heather Dubrow's World showed me exactly why Heather operates the way she operates now. And I think with me, I like knowing someone's backstory. And I'm not saying in a nosy way. I'm saying, that's why they react to certain things. I use this example all the time. On Charm School, which one? Who was it on Charm School? Was it Sincere or Sincerely? I don't know. It was somebody on, maybe that was Flavor of Love, that name. But anyway, there was somebody on Charm School, Monique's Charm School back in the day. They had given them their bedrooms. This is your room. You know how this is your room, and they claim their beds. One of the ladies claimed her bed, went out of the room, came back. The other girl was like, this is my bed now. Haha, this is my bed now. And the girl was like, no, I picked that bed. That's my bed. And she ended up fighting her over the bed and almost got put out. But when she explained her backstory, basically she was in, I think, foster care. And she had to fight for everything in foster care. And so that just triggered her. Not saying it makes it okay, but it helps you understand a person and how they operate, right? So with Heather, when I listened to Heather Dubrow's World, and I was shocked how transparent she was. She would talk about her relationship with her mom, it would be, she would have her mom on the podcast. Y'all, my butt cheeks would be clenched like this in a ball because she would like get into it and like tell her mom, like, yeah, these are the things. This is the problem. This is the problem. This is the problem. Her and her sister would be on. Girl, when her sister, and her mom were on, I would be like, I feel like I'm watching Ayanla and like old school Dr. Phil. Like I might be a little bit uncomfortable, but she was always honest, and I appreciated that with Heather. And I think that's why I liked Heather because I understood where she came from. Not saying I like all of her actions, especially her basically co-signing Tamara's BS, but I got an understanding of who she is. If y'all are ever bored one day, and the episodes are still there, back when it was Heather Dubrow's world, so we're talking like 3 or 4 years ago, and check out the episodes with her mom. And we know how her mom can be very put together, very closed off. They showed it on the show, not really emotional. And then she had an explosive dad. So she's learned how to navigate around that. She's learned how to navigate Tamara. So anyway, that was just a little side tangent about Heather. But so Heather said there's unresolved things. He would make her and her sister uncomfortable. In her confessional, again, her dad said he would have the random explosions. She said her dad would have the random explosions at a restaurant. It was embarrassing. It was disturbing. And again, when she tried to share it with Tamara, it was just kind of brushed over. So Emily says, Heather, but you can't put expectations on someone that can't reach the expectation. I mean, that makes sense once you learn they can't reach it. You don't always know they can't reach it until you put it on them, right? And, that makes sense, whatever. So in her confessional, Emily says she feels like it's always a chess game with Tamara. I said, we've known that, and so have you, but you want it to be on the show and on her good side. You were crying about Heather giving you a size, 12 dress, but Tamara called you Shrek, and it was, let's make up and be friends. You were scared of her too. Let's be clear. Gretchen becomes a psychologist. But look, I'm saying that jokingly, but I agree with what she said. I mean, it made sense. She said, basically, you'll gravitate towards somebody that reminds you of someone or triggers like, oh my God, that person is that person that used to do these things to me. But for whatever reason, you'll gravitate to them thinking you can heal yourself and possibly them. And sometimes you just got to leave it alone. And I was like, wow, that really makes sense. Like when she said that, I thought about it and was like, wow, I could kind of see in how that could be in some cases, right? Whew. Am I agreeing with Gretchen on just that? Uh-huh. Okay. Heather said, so that's why she parents the way she parents, because you can't control where you came from, but you can control where you go. And I definitely understand that. In her confessional, Gretchen said she's glad Heather's opening up because she don't often see that side of Heather. Shall we back with the Temecula twats? I'm saying twats because two peas in a pod, and they call, isn't it two T's in a pod? What's her name? Tamara and Teddy, and they call themselves a twat. So I was like, well, now we got four twats. But anyway, they're all back at the house. Tamara wants them to get in the hot tub. So since she knew that Shannon felt a way about being in a swimsuit, she got them t-shirts with the bikinis on them. So I was like, you know what? That's cool. But see, the one thing about Tamara or people like Tamara, I would be hesitant. I could see why Shannon was hesitant to accept the nice room. And then she told Tamara she didn't feel comfortable in a bathing suit. So Tamara goes out of her way to do these t-shirts. But it'll be thrown back up in your face at some point. I did this for you. I knew you were uncomfortable. I did this. To me, it's not authentic, because it's going to come back around. We just left Beverly Hills. Now we back. So they go to the Abbey. Heather says, her having this party at the Abbey, with the guys dancing half naked or whatever, is different than when Gretchen had Tamara's bachelorette trip in Cabo. Y'all, I remember that episode when Heather had on them gloves and was spraying them and ran over and was sitting in the chair when the strippers came out. Did y'all watch back then? Y'all, I remember that was funny back then. When her with that Lysol, that was really funny. Gretchen's taking the bottle to the head. Emily got her legs wrapped around a cowboy. Let me ask y'all this. Married people, non-married people people in relationships, people not in relationships. How do y'all feel about if you're in a relationship, whether you're married or not, and you go to a place like the Abbey or to a strip club? Well, not necessarily a strip club because you kind of know what you're getting there. I like a Magic Mike. And hey, maybe the Abbey is considered the same way. But how do you feel about a spouse jumping on a cowboy and wrapping their legs around him? Like, do you think that it's all just fun and games? Would you not like it? I feel like people are allowed to feel how they feel, and that doesn't mean anything deeper. If you don't like it, I don't feel that means you're insecure or if you're jealous. And if you do like it, I don't feel that means you're a swinger. It's just an all in what you like. Dating Taria will probably do it. Y'all don't need to know my business. But my past. What did Bernie Mac say? Long, 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 long time ago. Married Taria wouldn't do it. I just wouldn't. Because I'm gonna be honest, I wouldn't want him to do it. And people would, and because we like to put these stereotypes on people, people would probably say, well, he probably would do it. He wouldn't do it. And I know that he would be upset if I did it. Right. So it's like, it ain't work. And I always felt like, even with strip clubs, I'm just going to be honest. I'm giving you my hard earned dollars and I don't get nothing out of it but a little grind on the stage and you go to the next person. If I'm not leaving with something, you're getting nothing. So that's why I was never really into like strip clubs and stuff like that. But anyway, how would y'all feel? Do y'all think it's a big deal, not a big deal, whatever? Child, Emily hopped on him like nothing, and he grabbed her like nothing. I said, "All right, Em, go ahead." Gretchen said, "I don't feel like Emily's getting enough at home." They end up dancing on poles. Gretchen said she's an experienced pole dancer. Emily did pretty good. I'm gonna give it to Emily. She did pretty good coming down there. I've always wanted to come down. Like, I'm flexible, right? I've always wanted to come down upside down. Hear me out. Come down. Okay, here's the pole. I'm coming down upside down, and then I flip and land in a split. You know how Jamie Foxx says go from standing to a split? I've always wanted to do that. Anyway, so I mean, it ain't too late, but anyway, I went to a pole dancing class. I said, my God, today I give it to the strippers. They work to keep their bodies in shape. They got that. Emily says, now here's, Emily says she likes when Gretchen drinks. She likes fun, drunk Gretchen, instead of praying content Gretchen. And they show a flashback of Gretchen and her Jesus, all of that. I, there is a slight part of me that feels like it's one thing to say, oh, I like when they let loose and just be themselves, not necessarily in a sexual manner, but just they're always so buttoned up. But when they do this or drink or do that or whatever, they let loose. But what I was getting from Emily, like last week when she said we want the vagina lip showing Gretchen, and they showed that flashback of Gretchen, it's not quite naked wasted, but I feel like it gives like an essence of naked waist. Like, I didn't feel like it was coming from a place of, come on, loosen up, Gretchen. We about to have fun. More so like, we about to show you who Gretchen really is, which I get that too. But did you, again, I'm going to use the word sinister. Maybe sinister is too heavy, but it just gave me an air of naked wasted, except there's no Ryan to follow her in the bathroom and kiss her. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. It could be because I don't trust Emily and I don't like her. There we go. That's what it could be. But anyway, the girls were having a good time. They leave. They FaceTime Shane. Emily FaceTime Shane. She talks to her kids. They laugh. Heather said we should have done karaoke. So Gretchen's like, please, can we find a karaoke place on a spot on the way home? Heather says, yeah. So I said, did Heather just say that? Because I didn't see them I didn't see them going to a karaoke spot. Y'all, I promise I cut off all my alarms. But why somebody actually called my phone? That's my cousin. Cousin, if you're watching, I'm gonna call you back. But they didn't actually go to a place or what have you. But anyway, so they start talking. So Gretchen says, wait, that's because I want to get this right. Gretchen said, maybe they'll play my song because we know Gretchen has a song. And Emily said, did Tamara know you have a song? Because I feel like basically she'd be smart and try to play it. Gretchen said, well, Tamara tried to sing, and I have the audio of her in the studio. That's what she said, right? I have the audio of her in the studio. I didn't go back and watch that part, but I was taking notes as I was watching. So I'm pretty sure she said, I have the audio of her in the studio. The ladies want to hear it. Gretchen said, no, I'll never play it. Okay. I have the audio. No, I'll never play it. Emily says, when did Tamara go to the studio? Gretchen said, when she banged and they bleep it out. In her confessional, Heather says, I personally don't know the singer. In her confessional, Emily said, well, he Gen X. I know who he is. Heather says, was she married? And Gretchen kind of looks and kind of shakes her head. And Heather's like, my God. So the ladies get back to Heather's. They see their beds, the whole sleepover setup, which was really pretty. They get excited. It was a cute setup. The last time I had a sleepover with my girlfriends was a couple years ago. Matter of fact, we need to do it again. We got adjoining hotel rooms, and it was fun. I had a good time. I like adult sleepovers. I don't do it often because I do like being home, but I like having adult sleepovers. It's just fun. It's just really fun. It can be cathartic too, depending on what you talk about. But the ladies put on their matching PJs. They go meet in the kitchen. Now we back with the Temecula Twots. So they change into their bikini t-shirts, their swinging caps. Y'all, when I tell you, this is what I mean. I was cracking up when they showed Shannon laying on that bed with that swimming cap on. I said, if I have not had a Red Bull or some protein, like a slice of baked chicken, some brown rice, a Gatorade, or a Red Bull, because they all give me wings. All of that gives me wings. I might have been like Shannon, because I could sleep anywhere. I fell asleep in the middle of a casino one time. Another story from another day. But so I felt Shannon from the very depths of my soul. Jen knocks on the door and comes in with her swimming cap. Jen is like, what are you doing? Shannon said, I'm tired and it's on wrong. Talk about the swimming cap. And that's what I mean. Like, it was funny to me because that's Shannon, I think, just being not trying to purposely fall, or although I'm gonna say any Aries out there, and I don't think I'm not attributing this to a sign, but I do think it's funny. Vicky was an Aries. I will randomly trip or fall a lot. Just this week, every time I did it, I would think of Shannon. Instead of be like, see if a camera was following me, they would think I did that on purpose. I don't know if it's just my ankle or are we prone to be tripping. If I will literally just go down and come back up, like stumble all the time. But anyway, Shannon looked at Jen and said, that's on wrong. And she puts it on right. And Jen said, how did you know that? She said, because my grandmom used to wear one. I said, child. Anyway, Tamara and Gina are in the room. Gina has some weed. So Tamara says, how did I do with Shannon? As if she really cares what Gina thinks. Gina said, you did a good job of ownership and communicating how you feel. Tamara says, people always think I'm a New Yorker, and because I just get over stuff. As she's talking to a New Yorker. I think that's funny. But anyway, Gina said, well, you respect strong people, so it's easier for you to dismiss people who aren't. Possibly, what y'all think. Gina said, you got to just accept different types of people. So back with Jen and Shannon. Jen is checking in with Shannon, how you feeling after dinner, after the conversation we had. Shannon said, it's exhausting. Shannon, your vitamins might not be doing it. Girl, get some black girl vitamins. Get some collagen powder, some vital protein, get something. Jen said, you know what? Gina said to me and Gina had a conversation, and she says she cares about Tamara, but she's never telling Tamara her deepest, darkest issues with her because she don't trust her. In her confessional, Jen said, I don't like the cycle that I don't like the cycle that it always is with Tamara. It never stops. But she likes when she's with all the other girls. And I felt like that meant Tamara brought her in. So in the beginning, she was kind of taking Tamara's BS because she wanted to keep her spot on the show. But now she feels a little bit in, which is why she kind of left Katie out to dry. Because I do believe, we know Katie was lying about a lot, but I do believe that Gretchen thing, she wasn't lying about. And we saw Gretchen say it. Also, I do believe Jen heard that too. But she don't want to be on the out. She likes being in this group. So back in Beverly Hills, Gretchen and Emily are having a pillow fight. Gretchen said, I think I broke my neck because the pillows are like 922,000 pounds. They go and eat pizza. I love some pizza. Emily asked the butler, Nate, if he's ever worked at the Abbey. He said, I have not. She said, would you consider it? I said, Emily want to get her legs around that young man, don't she? So they show a flashback to Emily humping the cowboy. They talk about what you're supposed to do at a sleepover, and they say it's about talking ish for people. I didn't do that at my adult sleepover, but to each their own. I mean, unless it's somebody collectively that we don't care for, not like other friends in our group. Although I'm not even going to get into it anyway. So again, they talk about what you do at a sleepover. They want to hear Tamara's audio because Gretchen says she had it. Otherwise, they would have at the beginning said, call Slade. Gretchen said, I have the audio. So they tell her, we want to hear it. She said, Slade has it. So that was news to them because Gretchen, again, earlier said she had it. And I'm making this a point for a reason with Gretchen. Emily said, why does Slade have it? Gretchen said, let me call Slade for the audio. So she can't find her phone. She finds it on her way to her room looking for her phone. She says, I don't want to show the audio. They want me to play it. So, in other words, I didn't want to put this on the show. They want me to. Girl saying it, it was, come on, stop this. So, as she's looking for her phone, they, wait, what happened? Okay, yeah. So as they throw us, as Gretchen is looking for her phone, child, they throw us back to Temecula. I said, look, all this going back and forth, you listen. Sometimes y'all do too much going back and forth, and I'm trying to recap this. Bravo. But the girls are having fun in Temecula, laughing and joking and doing the synchronized swimming. So it seemed like a nice moment. Shannon actually looked like she was having fun. We back in Beverly Hills. Slade, Gretchen FaceTime Slade. And Emily takes the phone and said, give me the audio of Tamara singing. We want to hear it. I want to hear Tamara. Slade said, well, the story goes. Now remember, first Gretchen said she had the audio. Then she said Slade had the audio. They call Slade, and now Slade is telling us and says the story goes. Wording is important. The story goes that Tamara was singing with this Gen X person. Do y'all know who it is? I didn't take the time to try to figure it out. The internet probably knows, but they started messing around, forgot they were recording, and the audio is of Tamara and the guy basically having sex. Slade said, I don't have it, though. Gretchen said, so Emily, and I'm with Emily on this, said, wait a minute. You said you had she said you had the audio. He's like, no. Emily says to Gretchen, wait a minute, you said you had the audio. Gretchen says, no, I said I heard the audio of her trying to sing. Girl, that's not what you said in the beginning. Now you're trying to say, you said, no, I heard audio of Tamara singing. You said you had it, then you said Slade had it. Now Slade is telling us what it sounds like because he don't have it either. So Heather in her confessional said, I don't care about none of that. I just wanted to hear her singing. All this other stuff, I don't care nothing about. Because Heather knows how this works. Don't bring me into this. I'm in this situation. She gonna want to be like, why you ain't defend me? Why you ain't say this? Why you ain't say that? And she gonna be mad at me. I got my own stuff with her. I just want to hear her sound terrible. That's it. So I said, now this is another time that we've seen, this is the third time that we've seen Gretchen lie. She lied about never taking a lie detector test at Emily's house when she's on marriage boot camp, taking a lie detector test with Slade, and it was administered by the same man who gave her this lie detector test. So she lied about that. She lied about saying she went to the hospital after Naked Wasted. She now just lied because she said she had the audio. Then she said Slade had the audio. Then she said, I didn't say that. I said I heard audio of her singing. So don't none of them have the audio. What's interesting is for Slade to mention that, the Tamara piece, if y'all heard the same audio, why didn't Gretchen mention that part in the car, or did it get cut out? Either way, Gretchen be lying. So as much as she want to say Tamara be lying, Emily said they are the same person. And I said, well, Emily, I got to agree with you on that. Tamara is just nasty, obviously more nasty with hers. I 1000% agree. Emily said Slade salivates at the mouth when he talks about Tamara. Shane would have told her, shut the F up about Tamara. I said, well, why y'all want, see, and this is where I kind of part ways with Emily. Because I get what she's saying. Like, oh, as soon as you bring up Tamara, like you could tell Slade is excited about it, but you should have never told Gretchen to call him in the first place. Unless this is your first time seeing that side of him, which I don't believe. So I don't know. I said, girl, y'all called him. Am I crazy? Y'all called him to put him in this mess. Now y'all didn't call him. Now you got them to put him in a daggone confessional. Like I always do. I blame you, Emily. But in a confessional, Slade said, when it comes to Tamara, I'm not really interested in sharing dirt. You just told us she was in the studio having sex with somebody and it's on the audio. But anyway, he said, but I am interested in telling the truth. Emily says, well, if you're not going to send this song, we're going to go back to our slumber party. The Gretchen, so the morning, is it the morning after, right? Wait, no, I don't want, okay, no, this is the difference. So Gretchen that night said, y'all can't go back and tell Tamara this because then it's going to be a problem. Heather says, too late. In other words, girls on camera. In her confessional, Gretchen said, I don't want the girls to say anything about the extracurricular activity of Tamara in the studio because she originally just wanted to hear Tamara sound like a drowned rat, her singing. That was it. Girl. Back in Temecula, Gina says she's California sober. All the girls are in the hot tub. They smoking it. They called it a joint, which I get back in the day, but then never. And then they smoking it like a cigarette. Do people smoke? It's just me. I, back in my younger days, never held it like a cigarette. And the people I know that do it don't hold it like cigarettes. I don't know. Maybe that's a fancy way. I know people do, y'all. I'm just being funny. But like seeing that, I was just kind of like, y'all, what a time to be alive. Y'all remember, people my age, I'm 48. Remember, weed was something you hand signaled, whatever. And now to people to be so freely talking about it, I know it's legal, but it still kind of does something to my brain. Like, they smoking weed on TV. Like, they openly talking about smoking weed. Like, it just still does something to me because it was such a thing back in my day. Like, you ain't say nothing about that. Girl, one time I lost my mind. I was in my dorm. We were in the first time I ever tried it. I was in freshman year in college. I had been around it before then, but just never did it. And I was in my freshman dorm. And I had to be, I must have called a contact because for me to be smoking in the stairwell, girl, an RA could walk through here at any time. And if you get put out and your parents got to come from Jersey all the way to Pennsylvania, like in the part of Pennsylvania I was in was like 8 hours away or six to 8 hours. Girl, you might as well jump through the window before they get here. But I was in the stairwell. We just, anyway. But chai make you want to eat. And I said, I'm trying not to do a lot of that. So, but anyway, it's just wild to me, the time that we're in, that it's just freely people talk about it and do it on TV. But anyway, so Gina says, look, Matt had a heart attack. I'm more aware of the things that can happen to people over 40. And I'm just concerned about you from that aspect, Shannon. I just don't like it. You know, I feel you in that house by yourself, all of that stuff. So Gina says she believes Shannon is there in that house and it's easier to make bad decisions when you by yourself because nobody's there to judge you, to watch you, to see your hangover, to see anything. You're just there by yourself. In her confessional, Shannon said, I'm at home with my dogs. I'm watching shows. I'm doing my Sudoku puzzles and I'm timing myself. Don't bring up this kind of stuff. I'm in a good place right now. They all get ready to go to bed. At Heather's sleepover, they go to bed as well, but Gretchen keep talking. And Emily's like, girl, shut up. So in Temecula, the girls are getting up. Shannon's trying to figure out how to cook breakfast. In Beverly Hills, Heather has woke the girls up. In Beverly Hills, they was reading off a menu for breakfast. I said, I told you I would want to be with them. That was fun. A menu? What? Okay. Meanwhile, Shannon is frazzled, trying to cook the breakfast, and they asking her questions. And I think it was Tamara say, Eddie's and Aries too. You can't ask them too many things at once. I'm going to say this. I don't know if it's Aries. I don't know if it's... Hold on. If I'm in the middle of something and you ask me a question, I don't know, my body like gets like, stop. So I'll say, hold on one second. Let me finish this. I don't think multitasking is for everybody. Some things I can multitask, some things I can't. So overall, I don't think multitasking is for me. Again, I don't know if that's Aries thing or if that's a, let me hold on before you ask your question. That doesn't have anything to do with what I'm doing. Wait, because I need to focus on what I'm doing right now because I'll be all over the place. So I get that. I thought that was funny. Just give me a minute. So back with the Beverly Hills crew. Oh, so no, Gina says, how do you think Emily's doing with fancy pants before she explodes? And I just was kind of like, it's annoying that it's one thing to give Heather, Heather monograms, everything, or kind of joke on her a little bit. But just because that's not your way of doing things, when Gina said that, like, how long do you think Emily will last with Heather before she explodes? That kind of stuff annoys me too, because I could explode knowing that you drink out of a dog bowl. You carry food in your purse and in your pockets. You know what I'm saying? So it's like we're all just our own people, period. Anyway, so they're taking bets. Bets. Girl, the ladies in Beverly Hills is having breakfast in fur coats. I said, I know that's right. Fresh faces and furs, honey. That's what I'm talking about. Now, in the beginning, I said Heather's looked better than Shannon's because they hadn't completely shown Shannon's breakfast yet. Me, I want full bacon. I don't want no turkey bacon. And I don't begrudge anybody that does. I want bacon, right? So the breakfast was looking real good or whatever. So Jen is asking Gina, back in Temecula, do you think you and Travis will get married? And Gina's like, maybe, probably, yes, I don't know. And so Tamara's like, but what are you waiting for? And Gina says it's the instability of his thing with his ex. Him and his ex have a back and forth. They have to wait to see what the next steps is going to be. And it's hard for her to think about something like a wedding because it seems really inattainable because of the situation with the ex. She knows that if she marries Travis, the ex may be retaliatory by taking away the kids, and she doesn't want that to happen. So he is going in to try to get full custody of the kids. And she's like, he's just like exhausted by the back and forth. So shout out to him for doing the right thing. And I don't know if shout out is the right word, but because no one ever shouts out women for doing that. But I'm glad that he's fighting for his kids and the stability of his kids. If it's going down the way, if the ex is the way Gina says the ex is, I'm glad that he is fighting for his kids. So I'm back with Fancy Pants. They have a beautiful brunch. Like I said, child, they reading off menus. The chef is willing to make eggs. And well, Emily wants her eggs a certain way. Gretchen wants her eggs a certain way. And they're like, Heather, I bet you think that we're, just whatever, whatever. Sorry, y'all, I just got a text and I don't. Okay. So that threw me. Now my cousin's texting me that called me. Hello. I'm gonna have to tell them I'm just recording a podcast. But anyway, so they're like, you probably think that we're, and Heather's like, nah, we got a chef. Get what you want. I appreciated that too. So Emily asked Gretchen, this is where it gets a little, so Terry comes in, right? And Heather says, sit down, eat breakfast. How was your sleep? And he's like, I never slept so much in my life because he's in bed by himself. So Heather says he would love a sleep divorce. And that's when the spouse sleeps in the other room. Gretchen says that happens with her and Slade because he snores so much. Emily, messy little Emily, but I said, I'm here for it. She said, do you think about getting married? And Gretchen said, I've never had an issue with wanting to get married. I would love to. Heather said, I remember, and I'm glad Heather brought this up because if you would love to, why haven't you? But we know why. That child support. So Heather said, I remember years ago when we first talked about it, you were worried about financials getting married. They show a flashback from 2012 of them talking about it. Basically, Gretchen hadn't married him because of the child support. So Heather said, now do you feel like it's all handled? And I think because the son passed away. But I would think, wouldn't the back child support still be owed to her because it's back? Or I don't know how that works. If a child passes away and the father was owing back child support. So Gretchen said, well, we tell everybody we're husband and wife, and we did a ceremony with an ordained pastor. In our eyes and God's eyes, that makes us married. No, ma'am. No, ma'am. And this is what I mean when people be using the Bible to fit their narrative. That is not, if that's the case, any couple that's living together right now could have a ceremony with a pastor in front of God and say, we're married. No, ma'am. That is not how that works. And covenant and marriage are two different things. I said, these white evangelicals get on my, don't try to play in our face to ease your conscience. Y'all not married, period. In your eyes, in God's eyes, you're married. Girl, what? Anyway, now this is where I was like, half of me wanted to cuss Emily out. The other half was like, keep going. Emily said, so they're asking Gretchen about bank accounts. Do y'all have shared bank accounts? Gretchen said, I've never done that. I like to have my own money. I don't want no man thinking he can control me by money. Emily said, so it's your house? It's in, because Gretchen says my house is in my name. So Emily said, does he make a mortgage payment or does he pay rent? Girl, you know good and well that man don't pay no rent. But she could have said, oh, so does he pay the mortgage? I said, Emily wears me out at the same time. Keep going. Gretchen said, no, he doesn't pay. No, he doesn't pay rent. Emily said, but he has to contribute. He lives there too, right? Again, I would have been like, mind your business, but also I wanted to hear how Gretchen was going to answer. Heather said, how do you decide who pays for stuff? Like, do you split groceries? Gretchen said, I don't know what comes out of my account. No, I don't know. It comes out of my account. Now, Miss Ma'am. Heather said, does he pay for anything? Gretchen said, I feel like this is weird questioning. In her confessional, Heather said, their financial situation is none of her business, but it just never made sense. I'm with you, Heather. She said it never made sense when Gretchen proposed to Slade. We all thought it was BS. So, of course, they show a flashback of Gretchen proposing. Heather said it's fascinating. So then Heather tells Gretchen, look, it's fascinating to us because we commingle. Everything comes out of the same pot. And Terry's like, we're basically one person. Emily said as soon as she married Shane, everything was joint and she didn't sign a prenup. We know Shane's family got money. But does that mean Shane got money? Well, I guess so, the way the family operates. So Emily says Gretchen and Slade's situation is strange. Girl, I said, is this going to come up later? They get chair massages. And this is where Gretchen says, you got me in trouble last night. And they said, girl. No, ma'am, you got yourself in trouble. They tried to tell her, girl, it was you. You came out and you said Tamara had an affair. And she's like, guys, stop it. I didn't say anything about that. Slade did. This is lie number 5 with Gretchen. Heather said, Slade took it to another level. Has he not learned to not get involved? She said this in her confessional. Gretchen said, I would ask you guys not to say anything, but I know you guys aren't going to do that. And I agree with Emily. Emily said, oh, no, honey, you're not going to take this situation and make us the villains. We didn't ask you about it. And I did not manipulate you to get this information. In her confessional, Heather said, she backpedaling. And I said, yeah, she's trying to say, I would ask her not to say nothing, but y'all going to say something and make them at fault. I wouldn't blame them if they did, because that's a big accusation to put out there. Also, Tamara has put it out there about other people. So Tamara put that out there about Gretchen back when Gretchen first came on. All's fair in love and reality TV, I guess, huh? She gave that information to Emily and Heather willingly. So she says, I shouldn't have done it. I'm mad at myself for doing it. So Emily said, you were mad at Tamara because she accused you of having an affair, like I just said, and you had to spend all this money to prove that you didn't, just for you to accuse her of having an affair. How are y'all different? Gretchen said, I'm saying it's the same thing. It was on the internet. It's the same thing she did to me. Yeah. Emily said, so you and Tamara are the same. This is where I was not mad at Emily. I was like, give it to her, Emily. Points are made. You can't be the victim and then be like, and you can't do the same thing and then be the victim. So Gretchen said, no, we're far from the same. In her confessional, Gretchen said, nope, it may look like we're the same. I give her the energy she gave me. Now, I would understand that if you owned it. If you would say, yup, I told them she did the same thing to me years ago when I was sitting here in this seat. So guess what? Gotcha. I would respect Gretchen more. Well, let's be clear. I don't have any respect for Gretchen. For the reality TV Gretchen, if she was very willing to take ownership of it. Yep. We ain't the same person. I gave her what she gave me. What? Checkmate. Something like that. So Emily says they're the same person except Gretchen uses more filters. Child. Heather had enough. She said, all right, y'all got to go. Y'all got to go. The Temecula girls sit down and eat their breakfast at the pool. And their breakfast did look a little better after I saw it all put together. I still probably would prefer the other breakfast, but so Tamara's asking ladies what y'all gonna do when you get home, and they all talking about the different things that they're gonna do. Um, so they start talking, and Jen is like, "Look, we know you like companionship, but you're just home with Archie." And she says, "I go to therapy multiple times a week," and because they asked her, "What makes you go from being in an argument to like you're just upset and then you just derail? What takes you there?" Shannon said they talk about catastrophe in therapy. I think, did she say catastrophe or catastrophic? Either way, she said, I grew up like when you talk about you don't know what's going to happen every day. So basically, her childhood was very on eggshells too, almost it seemed like, or you just never knew. Maybe not eggshells isn't the right word. You just never knew what was going to happen. I grew up in chaos. And Tamara said, yeah, you shared some of that stuff with me. So Shannon starts to get emotional. She said, look, my parents were in a tumultuous marriage. She said her mom decided just one day she gonna get a divorce from her dad. Over the weekend, the processor couldn't find her dad to serve him. So he comes home at 5 o'clock on Friday. They're home. They're all playing tennis together as a family, having fun. But Shannon felt bad because they all knew this is not gonna last. And we, like, now we're responsible for knowing this information. They had a barbecue, all of that. And it's about to be over. And they had to fake it. Tamara says, now, to me, it could have stopped there, right? Or they could have built from there, asking more questions. Tamara jumps to, but didn't you say he had a drinking problem when you were growing up? Shannon said, I get you trying to be helpful. My dad is 96 years old. He's a different man. So there's just a certain level. And I get what she's saying, meaning we not going, like this, we didn't have to talk about bringing his drinking into it. We didn't talk about why they were getting a divorce. Y'all didn't ask why. I just said I grew up in chaos and you take it there. I get why I get why Shannon was pissed off at that. And Shannon's like, I don't want to hurt my dad. You don't understand that? And what Shannon is saying is, I'm close to my dad. I'm cool with my dad. And he gonna see this on TV because he watches. And you gonna say that? Not only that, I'm sure parents know that their kids have maybe had conversations about some of the things that they went through, but you don't necessarily want to know it, right? And her dad is gonna know, like, and then probably wonder who else did you share this with. But so Shannon's like, do you understand that? Tamara says, I'm sorry, I'm not trying to hurt your father. I said, girl, you know you're saying this on TV. Shannon said, well, you are when you're saying things like that, and he's not even in that place anymore. In her confessional, Shannon said, Tamara and I did speak often about our past histories in confidence. Never in my wildest dreams did I think a private conversation about our past will be brought up on camera. How dare she? And I think because that was when they were in a good place, I think Shannon knew maybe other stuff would be thrown up, but to go there, like to me, that was too far. I won't even say too far. I'll say it was just a dirty thing to do. Like, come on, why would you bring that up? But I think it's either Jen or Gina says something later that makes sense to me as to why Tamara probably did it. So Tamara said, you said, wait. Oh, Shannon said, that's not helping me. Tamara said, you said you had struggles growing up. So then Gina says, I don't think she said that to hurt you, Shannon. In her confessional, Gina said, I feel like Tamara generally is trying to connect with Shannon. No, no, I'm sorry, I don't buy it. Tamara says, do you talk about all this stuff in therapy? Shannon said, yeah. Tamara said, all this stuff is buried. It's going to come up. And Shannon is like, I see how in that moment Tamara was trying to be like, look, you talking about this, you talking about it in therapy. It's definitely going to come up. Her therapy, she's not doing on TV unless they're just not showing it like you are, though, Tamara. It seems like she's choosing to have it remain with her therapist unless she wants to share it with us, right? So, and from Shannon's point of view, I can see, girl, I'm going to therapy. I don't need you to tell me how therapy works. We ain't in that place. So I get why Shannon was irritated. Even though it may seem small, I get like that too. I don't need you to. I'm sitting here talking about how I'm in therapy. I don't need you to tell me how it's going to go. Something small, but I also get it. So Shannon's like, I'm well aware of what happens in therapy, Tamara. Tamara said, I'm sorry. Every time I say anything to you, you jump down my throat. I'll just leave it alone. That's what she been telling you to do. She been telling you to leave her alone. Shannon said, for you to try to explain how therapy works. And Tamara's walking away saying, I'm not your enemy, girl. I was just giving my 2 cents. So then Tamara goes into victim mode. F my life. I'm not even going to try with her anymore. I said, don't. She been telling you to stop. Outside, Jen says, I disagree with you, Gina, about her dad and Tamara trying to be helpful. That wasn't nice. Gina says, what are we going to do with this now? So Jen said, I don't know. Um, let's see, how it's gonna go down, basically. In her confessional, Jen said Tamara is smart enough to not call Shannon an alcoholic. So she lays the groundwork basically and brings up her dad so we can make the connection that it runs into. I said, exactly. So it was Jen that brought it up because I said a few minutes ago, either Jen or Gina said something to explain Tamara bringing up her dad, and it was Jen. I 1000% agree. She wanted to make that connection, and it's still gonna bring the focus back to Shannon being an alcoholic. I agree with Jen. Did y'all agree? Because I definitely think that's what she was doing. So in the house, Tamara's cleaning up and says, have another glass of champagne, Shannon. I said, see, that girl. Let's move on. Ooh, child, child, child. So Tamara said, anytime I do or say anything to her, she gets upset. Jen comes in to check on her, to find out what's going on. She wants to know why Tamara asked that question. So Jen says, the question about her dad, did you really mean that, or were you making it like your dad is an alcoholic, she's been an alcoholic, trying to make the connection? Tamara said no. She's just worried that she's not worried about her. Tamara says she doesn't care about her dad. She's just worried it's going to make her look like an alcoholic. Girl. She said, I don't think she cares about her dad. Jen said, these are all necessary steps, though. Tamara says, how long do you keep just doing it? Until she's ready to talk to you, or do you leave her alone like she asked you to do? So I was like, she don't want to go back there with you, Tamara. Just leave it alone. So Shannon didn't ask you for, oh, so I said in my notes, Shannon didn't ask you for your help. Child, I'll be putting in my own thoughts with them. So I said, Shannon didn't ask you for your help. Jen said, so then Shannon comes in. So now it's Gina, Jen, Shannon, Tamara. So Jen is like, let's not like leave it weird. Because remember, they do all got to ride back in a car together, right? So she's like, let's just not make it weird. Gina said, y'all need to figure out how to navigate through this little bump we've had. Tamara goes upstairs, and Jen said to Shannon, I asked her, and Tamara said the comment she made about your dad was not a dig. And I'm with Shannon. Of course she gonna tell you it's not a dig. What did you think she was gonna tell you? You thought she was gonna say, yeah, it was a dig? Shannon walks off. Again, I agree with Tamara. Gina then slid down on the floor and said, what we gonna do now? I said, child, I don't know, but it's a mess. And I'm tired of the Tamara Shannon thing already. I am. Let's move along. So I want to see when the Gretchen thing comes out. Like Gretchen talking, telling them, oh, child, she done slept with, whoever this Gen Xer is. I'm trying to find, and I should have taken a screenshot. Did y'all see that Tamara responded to, I don't have it. I'm gonna have to show y'all another time. But Tamara responded to the episode to Gretchen saying that, and basically was like, Gretchen is a liar. We know she is a liar. I said, well, now I can't even get mad because, yeah. So hold on. I was trying to see. I seen it on IG, but I don't have it right in front of me. Oh, here it is. Yes, I do. Yes, I do. Yes, I do. Okay. This is from Reality Entertainment TV. So Tamara on her story, thoughts on tonight's episode. I want to know. Oh, somebody said, I want to know who the singer was, if there was anything to that. Tamara says, I did not sleep with a boy band singer ever in my life. It's a complete lie. I will not say his name out of respect for his family. I'm friends with his wife, and they are both disgusted by Gretchen and Slade's false accusations. I think Gretchen has proven to be a liar. More to come next week. So, because she posted thoughts on tonight's episode. So somebody asked her about that situation. Somebody else said, "Are you allowed to sue castmates or friends of for defamation?" She responded, "Let's just say I have a meeting with my attorney on Monday." Now, all about the tea. So Gretchen reposted. Gretchen reposted. So when they asked Tamara, "Can you sue a cast member or a friend of?" and she said, "Let's just say I have a meeting, a cast member." Hold on, I'm gonna show y'all this because let me see if I can make it bigger so y'all can see if bigger because Gretchen reposted it. I said, "Now wait a minute, hold on, because they doing a lot here. Hold on. I don't see it readily available, but basically Gretchen reposted it and says, "Oh, my computer's running slow." Gretchen reposted it, posted a link to the All About the Tea article, exclusive. Tamara Judge trying to block secret audio of blowjob. Uh-uh. A blowjob with Jeff Timmons. Studio owner speaks out. She says, "This has been circulating for years. I wasn't the first person to bring this up." Sorry, nice try. Hold on, y'all. So now we got to see Tamara Judge and Jeff Timmons. Who is that? Y'all know him? Hold on. Because I need to see something now. Hold on. Okay, here we go. Now this was back. Let's see. Girl, this was back in 2017. All About the Tea did an article about it on 2017, and that's what Gretchen reposted. It says the Real Housewives of Orange County is filming season 12, and Tamara Judge is braced to be smacked in the face with her past. Details continue to emerge about her alleged romance with 98 Degrees boy band. 98 Degrees. Jeff Timmons, and the tea is hot. Newly exposed texts collide with Tamara's own Twitter timeline, adding more evidence to support a tawdry 2010 hookup. The following text between Tamara and the studio owner, who claims to have witnessed the sexual, he was there, who claims to have witnessed the sexual tryst involving Tamara and the 98 Degrees boy band singer, suggests that sparks flew between the pair. According to the exchange, Tamara allegedly revealed that she was hot for Timmons, even using the word love in a message dated August 7th, 2010. Tamara was in a committed relationship with her now ex-husband, Eddie Judge, at the time, and Jeffrey Timmons would marry his wife, Amanda, only a few months later. Tamara and Timmons were allegedly caught in a sexual romp during the charity recording session. Tamara's timeline of the alleged secret affair further clarified. Tamara's recording session with Jeff began August 2nd, 2010, and went into August 3rd, the source tells All About the Tea. However, Tamara and Jeff had already met, and there had been a lot of flirting going on. There was a lot of sexual tension between them. Reportedly, Tamara jetted to Las Vegas in March to meet with Timmons, possibly to corroborate their stories in the face of the growing scandal. Cha. So it's a 98 Degrees boy bander. Mm-mm-mm. So Tamara says she meeting with her attorney. Gretchen reposted it with the link to the All About the Tea story. Child, I don't know. I mean, it was 15 years ago, but I don't know. What y'all think? Y'all let me know. Do y'all agree with Emily that Gretchen and Tamara are the same person? And and if so, or if not, what do y'all think about Gretchen saying we're not the same person? I'm just giving Tamara the energy back that she gave me years ago. I mean, you and Tamara did just agree to make up on the beach. How, like the week before in the last episode or the episode before, and now you bringing this old news up, the audio with her singing, which makes me think, did she bring the audio up on purpose so that they could further go into like, oh, when did Tamara sing? So then she could expose when she had sex with this guy, so that could be on camera. Like, was that all a plot? And you were gonna call Slade, like, because the way that Katie and Matt have talked about Slade plotting and planning with them to talk about Tamara, I could believe that that whole thing was set up for Gretchen to call Slade and he reveal even more information. Y'all let me know what y'all think. Either way, I'm sick. I'm sick of their beef. We need to move on. but I do want to see Tamara's reaction from when it comes out on camera. All right, y'all. Love y'all. Talk to y'all later. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, follow the podcast wherever it is you listen to other podcasts. Go to Apple, Spotify, wherever, type in what else is going on. Hit the follow button. And if you're listening audio wise, please, y'all, come to YouTube, type in WeGo, WEIGO podcast. That stands for What Else Is Going On podcast, and subscribe. I love y'all. Talk to y'all later. See ya. Happy Sunday. I'll be back with Miami's review.